and some of these things. And I appreciate you guys joining us yesterday for our. It was kind of a somber show, but it was a good show. It was a show that I thought that we needed to do to honor Kobe Bryant and John Andretti. Joining us now is Kent Sterling of KentSterling.com. Kent, happy Super Bowl Sunday to you. How are you, sir?
I am great. How are you doing, Tom?
Hey, man, you always, you got a few days a year that you could just say is great. Christmas, the Indianapolis 500 race day, and Super Bowl. Those are 3 days a year that you could just say, well, your birthday or anniversary. You throw those in there too, or your kids' birthdays. But we could add to the list. But certainly at the top of the list is Super Bowl Sunday. Hey, Kid, I appreciate you joining us. And I do want to get to the Super Bowl talk and the topic at hand here. And I don't want to be Debbie Downer here, but I do want to. You didn't get a chance to join us yesterday. Our whole show was we were saying goodbye to Kobe Bryant and John Andretti. And what an unfortunate and sad week it was for the world of sports. And I know you're here in the Indianapolis market with me as well, and you've had interactions with John Andretti. But I noticed on one of your columns you mentioned that with all of this, that the Super Bowl has become a back thought. It's something that you're not even thinking about. And how true has that been? It's unfortunate, but I want to get your thoughts on the passing of Kobe Bryant and John Andretti.
You know, Kobe Bryant, to me, not only a terrific basketball player, but it's been fascinating to watch his evolution as a human being and to use what he used on the basketball court to gain excellence in order to, find those things in his life that gave him joy and invest in those instead of being that self-centered, self-immersed type of iconic athlete. He became immersed in his kids and in his wife and in his family and in his joy of writing and creating. And I just think that evolution of a guy is something that we can all aspire to. So that because who knows what that guy would have become from the time he was 41 until, his life was ended roughly a week ago today. So that was sad. And then John Andretti, we all knew was going to depart. We understood that the cancer was back and it was aggressive, and it was just a matter of time for John. A month or two ago, he came back to Indianapolis and he made it known that he assumed that was going to be his last trip home. And what a guy in that he found adversity was sort of thrust upon him, and he decided with Check It for Andretti that he was going to turn that into a positive. And so he went about the process of trying to get as many people to take seriously the need to get a colonoscopy as possible. And I got to know him when I was at WIBC a little bit when he did the race for Riley with Dave the King Wilson and Joe Stasiak and Matt Hiblin. And they raised from really meager beginnings where they did not know what they were doing and just thought, we're going to put on a show and we'll see what happens. And they raised a paltry amount of money, mostly because Gary Pedigo wrote them a check and kind of saved their bacon. But in subsequent years, they figured it out, and they wound up raising over $4 million for the Riley Hospital for Children. And so this is a guy who had fame as a race car driver and invested that fame in helping others in a variety of different ways. And, that's a life we should all aspire to as well. A really good humored dude and a very open guy about his cancer and about what he was dealing with. I think that we should all have great appreciation for both of those two guys as far as the humanity that they expressed in their lifetimes.
Kent Sterling, KentSterling.com. Thank you so much for your thoughts and memories on that. Let's get into the story at hand. It is Super Bowl Sunday. The Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers have earned their way into the Super Bowl 54, not 59. But, can we get rid of the Roman numerals already And also, I'm a big proponent that let's move Super Bowl Sunday to Super Bowl Saturday for those that have to work. But one of the big stories is the Kool-Aid Man, as we like to fondly call him, Big Red on the side, Andy Reid. We know Andy Reid from the Philadelphia Eagles, and a little bit here we'll have Ed Kracz on, beat writer for the Philadelphia Eagles, talking about Andy Reid. But Andy Reid really is trying to make a wrong right, if you will, because certainly he was widely criticized for that 2005 loss to the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl there, head coach. So he's seeking a redemption in the Super Bowl era. And then you have a group of, the San Francisco 49ers have made a lot of bad decisions over the last few years between coaching and quarterback situations. And they do have Jimmy Garoppolo. Now you have two very young quarterbacks in the league that are both wanting to prove themselves. But Kansas City Chiefs and Andy Reid, let's start with them. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, the Chiefs are going to go as far as their offense is going to take them. It's Patrick Mahomes, it's Hill, it's Kelsey, it's Watkins. And somehow, some way, the 49ers, with their front four, they're going to have to put meaningful pressure on Mahomes, get him corralled, and get him to the ground. Because if you don't, he's going to find a way to make plays either with his feet or with his arm. Kyle Shanahan, a terrific young coach at the age of 41, really, really good at offensive schematics. Jimmy Garoppolo, one of the interesting things about Garoppolo and Mahomes is that they're both trained in the offseason by Jeff Christensen. Jeff Christensen up in Chicago at the Throw It Deep Academy built Jimmy Garoppolo into a quarterback. He was a running back, and a high school coach came to Christensen and said, hey, I need this kid to be a quarterback. Can you help me? Because they had a lot of injuries at the quarterback position. He worked with Christensen. He was an adept pupil, and he came through that academy as a guy that Eastern Illinois coveted as a quarterback. He built himself into an NFL-ready prospect with Christensen. When Mahomes was at Texas Tech, he worked with Christensen to get his footwork right, his arm slot right, his motion consistent. And so this is this is good. This Super Bowl is really, really good for Jeff Christensen's business, that's for sure. But this matchup is about the defense of the 49ers versus the offense of the Chiefs. And if the 49ers can get off to a good start, like has happened in the playoffs for opponents of the Chiefs, then they've got to figure out a way to keep their foot on the gas and not let Mahomes back in the game with all his offensive firepower around him. Kelsey's terrific. Watkins is great. Hill is unbelievable. The weapons for the 49ers offense, not quite as dynamic. Raheem Mostert has had a terrific postseason. Tevin Coleman is expected to be back. But this is kind of a game that I think comes down to the 49ers defense against that Chiefs offense. And you're right, Andy Reid, without a Super Bowl win to his credit, it's kind of like a quarterback. You can't call yourself great without that ring, and Andy Reid still covets that ring.
We're talking with Ken Sterling, KenSterling.com. Also joining me now is a super Carolina Panthers fan, somewhat. My son, who makes his annual appearance on the show, Mr. Zach Marquis from North Carolina, calling me from North Carolina. How are you, son?
I'm outstanding, sir. How are you?
Fantastic. And you're joined also by Ken Sterling. So if you got any questions you want to ask about the Kansas City Chiefs or the 49ers, going back to the conversation here real quick, Kent, if you will, Kyle Shanahan also has some redemption to do. Remember, he was with the Falcons when they took the wrong turn with you in the Super Bowl as well. So he's got some stuff to prove as well.
All coaches do, and once you get that Super Bowl win, that puts you in a kind of a tier that is impossible to be in unless you've done that. So you're right. I mean, for anybody, although this is this is year 2 for Shanahan as a head coach, I think. And so, as the head man, he certainly is getting this, I think, a little bit young. He would rather have this in his pocket at the age of 41 than whatever the hell age Andy Reid is getting it after, all his time as a head coach.
Zach, what do you got from Kent Sterling? What do you got for us on the Super Bowl, bud?
To be honest with you, it's going to be the most hungry game ever. Both teams are out for this win. Both teams want this win. It's going to be history made tonight because like past Super Bowls when we always see the Patriots or regular teams in there, they get comfortable and they feel like everyone expects them to be there, and to see that this NFL season play out the way that it did, and these two teams just hit the ground running from day one. And they had their injury issues and they had their ups and downs, but most of the time they both teams played a really solid season. So I think Patrick Mahomes, he wants this. The Chiefs want this. I mean, the 49ers, it's time for them to rise and shine again, and it's going to come down to who's more hungry tonight, and it's going to be a very aggressive game. Period. I'm on the fence whether it's going to be an offense game or a defense game because it's either going to be a really high scoring game or an extremely low scoring game.
Hey, kid, that's a very good question, and with these two quarterbacks and what we know them to do, this has the potential to be a very high-scoring game, but the San Francisco 49ers defense is the real deal. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that the lower scoring this game is, the better for the 49ers. The higher scoring it is, the better for the Chiefs. If the Chiefs can kind of work their magic to the detriment of the 49ers defense, that's how they're going to win this game. And if the 49ers are going to win, it's not Jimmy Garoppolo. He's played 2 playoff games this postseason. He's 17 of 27 for 208 yards in those 2 games. That's Patrick Mahomes' numbers in the first half of a lot of these games. And so, the more ground and pound the 49ers offense is able to do, the better it is for them. The more times they can get the Chiefs to either turn it over or punt the football. That defense, like I said, has got to get pressure with 4 against the Chiefs. If they can do that, then they've got the upper hand. A lower scoring game favors the 49ers. A higher scoring game favors the Chiefs.
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, one quick thing I want to do. Let's just shift gears to the quarterback question in the NFL overall. And one of so Zach, I know you were down there in North Carolina. My granddaughter's big Panthers fan. You follow the Panthers as well. Cam Newton, we look at where he's going to be at coming up here in 2020. Tom Brady, we look at where he's going to be at. And Kent, let's also talk about where the Colts are going to be at. What are they going to do? We've had conversations about Phillip Rivers, and we've even had conversations about Tom Brady to Indianapolis. That's certainly not something that I think a lot of fans want to see, but winning changes a lot of that. But one of the quarterbacks that that I think would be a good fit here in Indianapolis if they don't go with the draft is Matthew Stafford. So we'll start with you, Kent. Carousel, if you will, going into 2020.
Well, I don't think that Chris Ballard is going to do anything splashy with a free agent. That's just not him. He's not going to go that route. That route normally doesn't work. If you look at great quarterbacks over history, older quarterbacks who were signed as free agents by a team that they didn't gain their fame with, the only one I can remember that had a lot of success or any success was Joe Montana, moving from the 49ers to the Chiefs, kind of ironically. You look at other guys, and there's a reason that the other teams – the quarterback is the most coveted position in the NFL. You cannot win without a quality quarterback. There is no way that the New England Patriots are going to let Tom Brady walk out the door, or the Los Angeles Chargers are going to let Phillip Rivers walk out the door unless there's a really good reason. Chris Ballard knows that. He's either going to draft a guy or he's going to sign a guy like Teddy Bridgewater, who he might feel really good about coming in and being a replacement for Jacoby Brissett in the near term. But I really think he's going to draft a guy like Love out of Utah State and groom him for a year under Brissett and then turn him loose in year 2. I think that's much more likely than him going out on a limb and go get a 38, 39, 41, 42-year-old quarterback. I just don't see that as being the way he operates.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, and that's a good name that you brought up, the quarterback from Utah. There, Zach, you're Cam Newton. He's going to be trying to find a new home. What happened with your Panthers, buddy?
I don't want to talk about it. It's a real sore subject.